let's. I will make now a video about geography now. East Timor. East Timor. So I hope you will enjoy it. East Timor, a very small country in Southeast Asia, between the Asian continent and Asian, European, African continent, the biggest landmass in the world, and Australia. Let's see.
Imagine Portugal is having a family reunion. You got the Brazilians dominating the conversation, Angola and Mozambique are off in the corner, and Cape Verde is joking around with Sao Tome and Principe. Then some
East Timor is also Portuguese. I mean, they also speak Portuguese, I think.
Random Asian dude walks in wearing a scarf, holding a guitar, and chewing on a betel nut. Welcome to the party, East Timor.
It's time to learn geography.
No! Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbie. Welcome to the first new country to enter into the 20th century. East Timor is small but loaded with backstory. Let's start off with the location, shall we? So first off, I know technically the country is called Timor-Leste, but just keep in mind the word Timor is derived from the Indo-Malay word for east, so when you say it that way, the country's name is actually East. However, if you really want to get into semantics, use the native Tetum name for East Timor, Timor-Lorosae, which means the rising sun of the east. Okay, so first of all, East Timor is located in Southeast Asia, occupying the eastern portion of the largest and easternmost island in the Lesser Sunda Islands, Timor, which they share with Indonesia. Right at the convergence of the Banda Sab...
This little thing here, I think it's also Indonesian then. And this is is this East Timor, and this is also East Timor, and this is Indonesia? Ah yeah, here Timor, Indonesia, so yeah. This way.
And Timor Sea, just a quick hop away from the northern coast of Australia, making East Timor the only Asian country to be completely located under the equator. In addition to the east side, they also occupy the
Sorry.
Kusi municipality, which is an exclave surrounded by Indonesia's half of the Timor island. The country also contains the islands of Atauro and Jako. The country is divided into 13 municipalities, with the capital and largest port, Dili, located on the northeastern part of the country. Back to Akusi. You might be wondering why East Timor is split up this way and why they even have an exclave, or why they occupy the east side. Like, wouldn't it be easier if they just controlled the entire island of Timor? In the simplest way I can put it, Portugal came, but then the Dutch came, they drew lines, and the Dutch were like, bye, and then Indonesia came, and then Portugal was like, bye, and then things got real messed up for 2 decades until finally, yay, East Timor. Dili, the capital, is the hub of culture and commerce. About a fifth of the entire population lives in the city, and you can even see Atauro Island from the distance on clear days.
It's really nice. You, is this, what other country is this in? The other island, Atauro. You can see even Atauro. If the subtitles are annoying, I can turn them also off again. Tauro. Maybe I hope I have the name correctly. Yeah. Not in Spanish. La isla Arturo es una pequeña. Okay, English. Also known as Camping Island, is an island and municipality of East Timor. Ah, here. Okay. I keep this. I keep the subtitles now away. We don't need them.
The country has 8 main commercial airports, mostly operating flights between Australia, Indonesia, and Singapore. And although Dili has a nice seaport, there are no international commercial cruises that dock anywhere in the country. Only freight vessels and private recreational boats are allowed in. As one of the only 2 predominantly Christian countries in Southeast Asia, the other one being the Philippines, cathedrals can be found all over, and traditional Portuguese architecture, as well as the Cristo Rei, a statue of Jesus Christ on top of a hill on a peninsula overlooking the city.
Which reminds us of Brazil.
interestingly enough, was a gift by the former Indonesian president, whom was a Sunni Muslim. I guess that's okay to do in Indonesia. Granted, it was the 20th anniversary gift back when East Timor was still integrated with Indonesia, and it was an incredibly awkward gift. It was like, hey, East Timor, you know, it's been like 20 years, and we know you're Christians and stuff, so here's a Jesus statue. So, we cool?
You do realize we hate being a part of you, right?
Oh, yeah, that thing. Well, I mean, you guys were like this close to being communists back in the 70s, and, you know, we couldn't have that, so...
Just
What? Was it this way? Was East Timor close to being communist? Mom, that's interesting. East Timor communist. Let's just see if I find something. Socialist Party of Timor. Let's see, just for fun. National Parliament, 0 seats. That's sad, of course. So the Socialist Party of East Timor is a Marxist-Leninist political party in East Timor. Well, I always love it. If to look up some interesting communistic parties in other countries, like also Communist Party Israel. Something I don't know if that's existing, but it has 3 seats in the parliament. I mean, I didn't even know that it exists. Something like this. The Israeli Communist Party, commonly known as its Hebrew acronym Maki, is a communist political party in Israel and former part of the political alliance known as Hadesh. It was originally known as Raka, and I hope it's kind of correct my pronunciation. Probably not, but I do my best. An acronym for I'm not Reshima Communist Hadasha. After breaking away from the originally Maki in 1960. It's interesting. They have a communistic party in Israel. I love it. 2022, 3 seats, opposition. Ideology, communism, Marxist, Leninism, ultra-globalization, anti-Zionism. Interesting. Far left. I have to put it here. It's just interesting. Just for fun. Anyway, let's continue with the video. Maybe they were once close to some communistic countries or so, but still interesting. East Timor. We continue with the video. So yeah, let's do this.
5 years ago. Do you remember what happened at the graveyard in Delhi? Oh, but leave the statue. I kind of like it.
Oh, East Timor. It's pretty funny though, because even though West Timor is legislatively different, the people and land are virtually identical in so many ways. Kind of. Let's talk more about the land. East Timor has had many years of conflict, but an eternity of Southeast Asian tropical beauty. First of all, the country is predominantly mountainous, with the Ramlo mountain chain creeping across the spine of the island from the coasts to the border. The highest peak, Mount Tatamalau, located just south of Dili. Of course, located just a few degrees south of the equator, East Timor has a tropical, humid climate that allows an abundance of flora and fauna to flourish in broadleaf forests with a rich undergrowth of shrubs and grasses. Most heavily in the first conservation area, the Nino Cones Santana National Park, a great spot for tourists that includes a ton of beautiful hiking spots and the largest lake, this thing.
Moment.
Includes a ton of beautiful hiking.
I have to check something out. What language do they speak in East Timor? Portuguese? Probably. I mean, it looks like this, but let's see. Let's find out. Native language, official language, Portuguese und Tetum. Okay. Tetum language is an Austronesian language spoken on the island of Timor. It is spoken in Velu, Regency, Indonesian West Timor, and across the border in East Timor, where it is one of the 2 official languages. I like and very obscure and little languages which are just spoken by native speakers, 500,000, mostly in Indonesia. I like this kind of small languages which are not spoken by many people. Here, for example, I know it's out of context, but still I want to do it. Moment. Yeah. I need to remember. The Hub language, which is just spoken by a few people in the Amazon region, between Venezuela, Colombia, and northern Brazil. The Hub language is one of the 4 Nutu Hub languages. If it is spoken by the Hupta indigenous Amazonian people who live in the border between Colombia and the Brazilian state of Amazonas. There are approximately 1,500 speakers of the Hub language as of 2005, according to apps. Hub is not seriously endangered, although the actual number of speakers is few. All Hubter children learn Hub as their first language. Brazil. Native speakers 1,700. Anyway, interesting. This is kind of very small languages which are spoken by a very few amount of people. Let's return to the video and continue with it. I would also like to visit East Timor one day. I will just add this to the list of all the countries I would like to visit.
Spots, and the largest lake, this thing. This is also home to quite a few species of mammals and birds and reptiles, such as the Timor shrew, the yellow-crested cockatoo, the Timor green pigeon, reticulated pythons, and the cuscus, not to be confused with couscous, although to be honest, I really can't tell the difference. Just wow, the similarities. Deforestation has been a huge problem in the past, though, to clear way for farms, and on top of that, the island is subject to earthquakes and cyclones and tsunamis.
But thankfully, no volcanoes.
Nope, that'll be in the next episode. Economically, East Timor is really kind of struggling. I mean, they rank pretty low on the GDP index, and they have a heavily dependent market economy driven by coffee, oil, and sandal.
Moment, East Timor. Starts with an E. So what country should come after East Timor, where a lot of volcans are inside of it? East E-R E-B-E-C EC, maybe Ecuador? Has Ecuador volcans? I'm not sure. When you know what country he's referring to, also you can just write it in the chat or in the comment, or yeah, just
Since independence, oil has made up most of the national budget, in return earning them the title given by the IMF as the most oil-dependent country in the world. However, it's weird because it's located in the Timor Gap, a spot that's kind of disputed with Australia. It was kind of awkward because it was like, all right, we found a ton of oil. Let's start drilling.
But it's closer to me, though.
Oh, well, hey, East Timor, didn't quite see you there.
I'm kind of in a bit of a struggle.
Maybe we could share it?
Great, I'm on it. Let's go.
Coffee is a huge commodity out here. Typically, it's exported dried, organic, and unroasted. About 46,000 coffee farms exist in the country, employing about a fifth of the entire country's population. Most people survive off of subsistence farming, which can be a little nerve-wracking considering that East Timor actually has a hungry season. If there isn't enough rain, they usually have to resort to akar, the Plan B staple, made of dried palm bark beaten into powder, mixed with water, and cooked over fire. Otherwise, East Timorese cuisine can actually be quite scrumptious. Unlike other islands in the area, the East Timorese have a cooking style influenced by the Portuguese, so you see more ingredients like corn and pork incorporated into the dishes. Remember, a lot of the other Indonesian islands surrounding East Timor are predominantly Muslim, so you don't find many pork dishes. Of course, though, they add their own island flair with things like tamarind, coconut, and capsicum spice. Crazy, right? It's like a mix of Islander and Portuguese and a touch of Southeast Asia, kind of like the people. Let's cover that now. This is where things are going to get a little colorful yet mysterious. First of all, the country has about 1.3 million people and is the...
There's very few people. I mean, it's just a small island, so maybe I should not have expected more, but I thought kind of they had a bit more. But interesting, yeah. It's even lower than Lithuania with 2.7 million, so half of Lithuania's population. On a very I think the island is much smaller. But now that I think about it, it may also be bigger. It's at the equator, everything looks smaller, but when you would put it more up, it would become bigger. So I'm not sure. We can probably find this out. Let's see. What's bigger, Lithuania or East Timor? What's your guess? We will know it in a few moments. What do they want to? Timor-Leste, okay. I wasn't sure how to write it, and they recognize it. So let's pull you over here to Europe. Okay, it still looks it's very smaller, much smaller. Interesting. Yeah, maybe let me guess. 1, 3, maybe a third or a fourth of the land area of Lithuania. Anyway, interesting.
Only Portuguese-speaking country, if you don't include Macau, in Asia. Ethnicity-wise, it's a little tricky to get the exact numbers because the country doesn't really emphasize reporting social identity in their census. Almost the entire population is of Austronesian descent. That's people who are generally mixed with Malay-Polynesian heritages. The population of East Timor actually has roots closer to the Aboriginal peoples in Australia and Papua New Guinea than the rest of the Indonesian archipelago. Add in a pinch of possible Portuguese ancestor and voila, you have an East Timorese person. Nonetheless, distinct tribes and people groups inhabit the area. The largest groups, to the best of calculations, are the Tatum at about 10%, the Mambe at around 8%, the Tukudede, Galali, and Kema at around 5%, and the rest is just kind of like a ton of other smaller Timorese people groups and tribes, with a small population of Europeans and Hakka Chinese. Once again, those numbers are general estimates and probably not fully accurate, but in the ballpark. I actually contacted the East Timorese embassy in Washington, D.C., and even they didn't have the exact numbers. It's that complex.
Just wait till you get to my episode.
The country has two official languages, Portuguese and Tetum, a native language which actually...
Tetum. That's I will have to check out something about this language later. I write it down here so I can later check it out, and if it's interesting, I make a video about it. Tetum, moment, I just write it down. Tetum. Yep.
Has various dialects in itself. However, there are over 30 regional languages and dialects spoken throughout the country. To this day, Indonesian is considered a work language, whereas English is just starting to make its debut considering how much business potential lies in English speakers. Speaking of which, East Timor uses the US dollar as its currency. They do have their own centavo coins, however those coins are
I collect coins. I would love to have many different coins in the world, and probably they are hard to get by, but they look nice with this thing here and the ship. I'll make a picture of this. Let's see, continue.
actually minted in Portugal. Culture-wise, East Timor is kind of like a vibrant blend of Islander, Portuguese, and Indo-Malay influences. You can see Islander rituals, clothing, dance, and handicrafts all over that are unique to the Timorese people. Okay, now this is where things are gonna get a little confusing. Let's talk a little bit about West Timor. West Timorese people have some similarities, yet there's a reason why they deliberately choose to stick with Indonesia. For one, just like East Timor, the entire East Nusa Tenggara province of Indonesia is predominantly Catholic. Unfortunately, though, this is kind of where the similarities end. Although both are Catholic, West Timor speaks Indonesian and predominantly comes from the Uwab Meto speaking tribe that is actually quite different from the rest of the island peoples. This, in conjunction with a higher economic index, is partially the reason why West Timor never really decided to join East Timor in making a single Timor country. Money and language are powerful things. Nonetheless, the two sides of the island still find ways to cooperate, as they do with other parts of the world. A transition!
I wonder how the relations with Indonesia are now. I mean, probably he will mention Indonesia in this segment because it's a large country and it's right next door. So let's see.
East Timor is kind of new to the game of self-sovereignty, but they definitely don't go at it alone. First of all, they get along with other Portuguese-speaking countries. Brazil, although far away, likes to follow up once every so often, and as a sister city to Dili, Macau is like the other Asian sibling that East Timor occasionally gets to see once a year. Despite the past drama, Indonesia still does good business with East Timor, and about 50% of all exports come from Indonesia. They've moved on and they're kind of cool now. Their best friends, though, would have to be Portugal and, surprisingly, Mozambique. Portugal has always held ties with East Timor even after they left in the 70s, and today, Portugal hosts quite a few Timorese citizens, likewise Portuguese in Timor. Mozambique is like the cool friend that they met when they were both colonies. As the closest African Lusophone country, they shared culture and ties for centuries. Many political leaders have actually lived in exile in Mozambique, including President Jose Ramos Horta and former Prime Minister Mari Alkatiri. In conclusion, East Timor, or Timor-Leste, or Timor-Lorosae, has held on fiercely to its Portuguese roots and is proof that sometimes culture in itself is enough to stand up and stand out. Stay tuned, Ecuador is coming up next.
I knew it. I analyzed what kind of country he could refer to when he mentioned right to the next episode with Ecuador, because East Timor and then ER and then EC. So I could guess it. You heard it. Awesome. I was right with this. That's nice. East Timor. So we have made another country this episode in here just for, because so it is inside here. And the other video.
So I don't even really have
Just so it is complete. I will have the links later, of course, also in the on YouTube. But so it is complete also for 2 hours and 15 minutes I stream already. I hope people enjoyed it so far. I like to make these videos and also stream from now and then here on Twitch.